Jai Gurudev Swamiji. Today we have two questions. The first one is, I feel like my mind has been sabotaging me lately and it has been pretty hard. I've been having thoughts during meditation and sometimes during the day that have been holding me back. How to deal with the mind? Is it through observation or distance? I know we are not thoughts, but where do they come from? This is the first question. And the second question, when we are enlightened, do we no longer feel divine love? I love Gurudev so much, but at the same time, I want to be enlightened. Jai Gurudev, thank you.
Interesting questions. I think I'll take the second question first. When every part of our existence is dripping with love, then we can say we're enlightened. So when you say, do we not feel divine love? It's like asking if love cannot feel love, because we become love. The whole process of enlightenment, as far as we know, is to understand, or is to become love, is to understand that we are made up of a substance called love. Now there are so many things that are bothering us to reach the core of ourself, which is a repository of love, which is a repository of bliss. So when you become love, when you become bliss, so there's no question of not being able to love anyone. So let alone the divine. So you become love, that is enlightenment. So when you realize that the storehouse of love is within you, the only thing you can do is you can spread love. You can share love. You can feel love. So don't think these two are contradictory. So just loving Gurudev and getting enlightened is not contradictory. Loving Gurudev, loving Guru, love for the Master, love for the Divine is Bhakti. So this is Bhakti Yoga. So keep loving Gurudev. So ultimately we become what we do. So when we keep loving Gurudev, we become love one day. That is Bhakti. Bhakti is the pinnacle of love. The heights of love is Bhakti. So being in love with Gurudev and being enlightened, they are not opposite. In fact, one complements the other. You love Gurudev, and you will find that you will one day, will definitely, hopefully, will become enlightened. So that's the second question. The first question, you talked about the mind. Of late you said that your mind has been troubling you. You've been having thoughts that are disturbing you. Let me narrate you a story. There was a master and a disciple. The disciple was always perturbed. Disciple was always confused, always frustrated. Small little things used to frustrate him. So the master decided to make a point to the disciple. So he asked the disciple, they were living together, he asked the disciple to go to the kitchen and get a tumbler of water. And also he asked the disciple to get a handful of salt. So then he asked the disciple to pour the handful of salt into the tumbler of water, and he asked him to drink it. The disciple did as was told. He drank the water and he said, wow, that tasted very bitter. Next, the master asked the disciple to take the handful of water and throw it into the river. And next, the master asked him to drink the water from the river. And now the master asked, how does it feel? The disciple said, it feels very refreshing. So similarly, the thoughts that bother us, the problems that we have, is like a handful of salt. Nothing more, nothing less. But once we expand our sense of awareness, once we expand our sense of being, then the thoughts or things that trouble us will seem very, very small to us. As you have rightly said, you're not the thoughts, and therefore you're not the mind also. The thoughts come in the mind based on, let's say you see something and your five senses gives information from the outside world, and that gets converted into thoughts. So that we call as the level of mind. Within us also, there is a repository of all the past life impressions. The subconscious memory, we call it chitta. So between the mind and chitta, there is constant information. So when something gets triggered inside the chitta, inside the subconscious mind, then also thought comes. And what is the best way to get over these thoughts? One, as you have rightly said, intellectually you're not the thoughts, you're not the mind. But that is quite difficult to follow. Intellectually, you cannot keep saying, "Oh, I'll distance myself from the thoughts. I'll just keep observing it." Yes, that definitely works. But doing more sadhana, getting tired physically. Once you get tired physically, the mind comes to a restful state. Now, if you're in a lockdown stage where you cannot move around a lot, where you cannot do seva a lot, what you can do is increase your asanas, the stretches. Once you increase the asanas, the meditation will happen. When meditation happens, again the mind comes to a still. Second, the third is, you know, as I answered in the first question, bhakti, being deeply in love with someone, being deeply in love with Gurudev, when every particle of your existence is focused on Gurudev, then also, even if the other thoughts come to you, you will not, that doesn't bother you. Isn't it so? And third is sing, and being with good company. Sing along. You know, thoughts come when the left side of the brain is analyzing too much, logic and analysis. The right side stands for music and meditation. So when we sing, it balances both the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So just 10 minutes, 15 minutes of loud singing will definitely help in reducing these thoughts. Next, my personal favorite is chanting Namah Shivaya. You know, the Namah Shivaya, they represent the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Namah Shivaya. So our entire universe is made up of five elements, and so is our mind, and so is your body. So when we chant Namah Shivaya, so it harmonizes, it brings rhythm, harmony among all these five elements. And that will take you deep inside meditation, and your mind becomes still. Finally, astrologically, there are certain periods where your thoughts will disturb you. Your own mind becomes your enemy. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, if the mind is in my control, it will act as a friend. If my own mind goes out of control, it is my worst enemy. So astrologically, there will be some time, especially in a seeker's life, where there will be a lot of distractions, or lot of thoughts come, where a lot of thoughts from the subconscious may come. So the best thing is, of course, as you've said, observe, not to just ignore the thoughts. But the best thing is, do your chanting, do your sadhana, and during meditation, if the thoughts disturb you, it's fine. Increase your sattva level. Watch out for your food. A good sattvic vegetarian food will help you go deep inside meditation. And don't forget to do our advanced program. Every 3 months or every 6 months, sit in an online advanced program. Be in silence, be with nature. Be with nature. So there will be some challenging time where thoughts may trouble you, where too many thoughts are there during the day or during meditation. The best is get into action. Whenever thoughts disturb you, I always tell anybody who comes to me saying that get into action. Do seva or do any work, be it gardening or just focus on one thing, get into action. Because when the thoughts bother us, what do? We tend to sit inside the room, lock ourselves inside the room and keep saying, oh, what about me? What about my thoughts? My thoughts are troubling. The best way to get out of thoughts is to get into action. Let your body work, and you'll know that your mind slowly settles down. The more you give work to your mind, your body will tire. Isn't it so? But the more you give work to your body, the mind will become restful. Have you observed this? So get your body to do some work, get into seva, do some gardening, being with good company, and reading knowledge, Gurudev's knowledge. Yoga Vasishta says everything is an illusion. So once we come to a matured intellect, once we have that matured intellect which says that, oh, everything is maya, everything is an illusion, then also your mind becomes still. So there are many ways to get over the thoughts. The first is, as I said, bhakti, deeply devoted, intellectually, chanting, singing, doing an advanced program, and getting into action. And seventh, probably if you have an Ayurveda Panchakarma treatment facility there, get these things done, because too much vata, too much pitta, kapha, they also generate a lot of thoughts. Get into an Ayurveda Panchakarma once in 3 months or once in 6 months, depending on your doctor's advice. Even this will help. So I hope I've answered these questions. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to write back to me. Jai Gurudev.